You know you can stream to yours. Hey everyone.
Do I even know
Whoever
how?
who's ever out there, sorry we are a few minutes late. We were having a lot of technical difficulties.
I'm
So
still having them.
you can't hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
No,
Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you.
Okay.
They're in my head.
Oh, all right, y'all. So we made it. And today we are going to be talking about breaking up with the hustle culture and the boundaries around breaking up with that hustle culture. So my name is Angela. I'm from Unapologetically 50 plus. So in my podcast, we talk about just real life, real growth, real living for women 50 and over. And then I have my co host, Miss Miriam, and I'll let her introduce herself.
All right. So I am the exit queen because I make exits fast, but I make them professionally and when it's time. I don't dilly dally, I'm straight to the point, and I help people plan out their exits, whether it's from a job, toxic relationship, any and above, all of those things I can help you with and support you in your journey to exit. So that's what I do.
Exactly. And so this is our second live together. And today we are going to talk about how in America, how the hustle culture is encouraged, it's rewarded, and we celebrate long hours, busy schedules, the endless grind. We glorify. I remember I used to glorify when I was younger, not so much anymore, but when I was younger, women who would sacrifice everything to climb that corporate ladder, all in name all in the name of productivity. But here's what the truth really is: that constant hustle, it comes with a cost, and it's just not a cost to our family and friends, but to our mind, body, and our spirit. So that's what we kind of want to talk about today. We are also putting together, Miss Exit Queen and I are putting together a workshop. I like to call them a journey. I don't want to use the word workshop because everybody uses that word workshop. And whoever's listening, please let us know if you can hear us. Put a yes in the chat just so we know, since we were having some technical difficulties earlier, getting on a few minutes late. But
Let
anyway,
me see
so
if I even got my people on. Let me see.
well, it looks like you're connected. On my end, it looks like you're connected to YouTube. Um,
Okay.
so again, going back to the hustle culture and paying that price with our mind, body, and our spirit. And also, it leaves us mentally, it leaves us anxious, restless, and it's sometimes never even satisfied. We have that, I got to constantly push and push and push. And no matter how much we push, it can seem like it's never enough. So that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about the boundaries also behind that hustle culture and how we can set those boundaries to, you know, hopefully alleviate that need to always have to hustle and grind. Anything you want to
Hmm.
add, Miss Miriam?
Well, to talk about the hustle culture, I mean, people hear that term and maybe they don't even know what it is. They just do it.
Right.
Hustle culture is when you are pretty much glorifying the fact that you are hustling. Like, I know when I worked 12-hour days, it was a regular thing for
Mm.
myself and my coworkers to talk about, oh, I worked 10 hours yesterday, or I worked 12 hours the day before that,
Right.
and you're like bragging about it as if it's like this thing where you need a trophy for it. But meanwhile, you're missing out on your family activities, you're
Mhm.
tired, your physical health might be declining, and all of those things are happening in the name of hustling for somebody else. And at what cost? It's your freedom, your time, your health. It could be a lot of different things that you're sacrificing for that.
Exactly. And I did a podcast not too long ago with a therapist, Temple Jackson, and we talked about, in particular for Black women. 50 and older, the John Henryism,
Mm,
that Henryism mentality. And John Henry was a slave who pushed and pushed himself because he was trying to outbeat a machine. And in the end, he ended up,
mm,
dying from a heart attack. And that's our mentality sometimes, as especially as women in the American hustle culture, that we keep pushing because we have to prove something to not just ourselves, but we feel like we have to, like you said, prove ourselves to, you know, other people, to our coworkers, to, our girlfriends. And, look how, I'm hustling. I got my grind on. I'm getting my hustle on. And sometimes that means we're working two and three jobs,
yeah.
just to brag about something that's not really benefiting us. Yeah, it might be benefiting us monetarily, but hey, like they said, you can't take it with you.
You can't take it with you. I remember working 7 days a week, and my
Ooh,
daughter got to the point where she was like, "Mommy, I don't want you to work on the weekends anymore because you're missing my activities and we don't get to
right,
spend time with each other." But here I am thinking I'm bringing money to the table as a
right,
single parent. I'm like, I'm doing the thing. I'm working
right.
hard, but I'm missing out on so much. And so finally I said, okay, let me step back and let me try this. I mean, I did it with trepidation, absolutely, because I just jumped. I just took the leap of faith, and I said, God, I'm praying that you got me, and I did it, and it worked out. Like, I
Yeah,
still had money left over to do the things that we wanted to do, so it didn't break me.
right. Well, Marion, since we're talking about exiting, and that's your expertise, I'm still trying to learn from you, girl. So you just left from America and went back to your, I'm gonna say, home.
That's right.
And tell folks a little bit about that journey, because that just embodies what you're talking about when you're saying, leaving behind that hustle mentality, and now building your home and your dreams somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't something that happened overnight. It was definitely in the making because I had gotten so tired and burnt out from my job. And I loved my job at first. When I first started there, I loved it. I took a cut in pay because I was giving back to younger people and I felt like I was on the top of the world. But then over a period of time, over a few years, I just, I hit the ceiling as far as how much I could make. And then I
Mhm.
started getting, oh, well, people in your position make too much money anyway, and we're not giving raises and we're not giving bonuses. And so I'm no longer getting anything for it, getting anything out of it because I felt like I gave emotionally all I could
Mhm.
for the younger people that I was serving, and now I wanted to be compensated in another way, and they couldn't do that. So that was burning me out. And they just wanted to push, push, push me to work more hours and not take vacation days. And they said, when I take vacation days, I have to make sure I'm on call at the beach, no matter where I was. And we don't get that many, we didn't get that many vacation days to begin with. So it's an accumulation of that plus my 6.5 year relationship, and I always count the half a year because it was
That's
time out of
important.
my life. Out of my life, I tell you, the gray hairs show it. But I it was 6.5 years, and it got to a point where, you know what, this is not going anywhere, and we're not on the same plane at all. Like, and I
Right.
should have seen it at the very beginning, but I kept holding on, like we do in these toxic situations.
Right.
We hold on because we're hoping for change, but the only thing we can change is ourselves in the
Yeah.
situation. So, and a lot of times we have to make that change by taking the leap, by exiting from those situations. And I started like really thinking about what is it that I want. And I started envisioning where I wanted to be. And before I knew it, it was like this place in Spain, speaking another language, being in a village, and I could feel it so much that it was real to me every day. That was my happy place.
Mhm.
And lo and behold, before I know it, I was here. I was
Yeah.
here. I was in my, I don't know if it's gonna be backwards, but I was
Your
in my
casa,
casa.
like your casa.
I was in my casa.
And that's, I mean, and that's what we're talking about when we say breaking up with that culture, breaking up with that mindset, because you did it. You said, okay, enough's enough. Yeah, it took time, it took planning, but you said enough's enough. And you also, when we talk about that breaking up with that type of mentality, you had to set some boundaries. You had to come to the realization, hey, whether it's in my relationship or in my job, I have to set some boundaries. And that's the connection that the hustle culture only thrives where boundaries don't exist. So
Hmm.
if there are no
Hmm.
boundaries, then, or you have very few boundaries, or you set some boundaries and you break those boundaries, then you're always going to be in that constant, state of go, 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 because you haven't set those boundaries, and when to tell yourself enough's enough, when to tell your family, I'm tired, or when society, because society as a whole will keep pushing you and keep pushing us until we finally say it's enough and we set those limits. So,
Absolutely. Like it's like when we get into a relationship, we should already know the values that we bring and the values that we expect from the other person. We should
mhm,
know what our boundaries are so that when they're crossed, we exit automatically. It's
yeah,
when we're not clear on those boundaries, like you're saying, if we're not clear on them, then people will cross the line all day, every day,
yeah,
and then we suffer for it.
right, right. Um, and then we have to look at, so without those boundaries, that hustle mentality, and you can't just blame it on everyone else. You have to also look at yourself and saying, why do I feel the need to work so hard, or to, and you're, like you said, in a relationship, uh keep doing what I'm doing without any, um without getting that in return from my partner.
Hmm.
So, it comes with a cycle of, more tasks, more pressure, less rest, less joy. And you hit upon that when you said that you had a vision, and your vision was, you know, a new culture, a new, speaking another language, yeah, small little town, and that's where your joy is now. And I know when you were out here for the 3 or 4 weeks that you were out back here in the States, we talked a few times. And, you know, even though you had a lot to do out here, I could tell you were ready to get back home. And
Woo.
you have said it, Spain is now my home. And
Hmm.
that's when you know that you made the right choice, when you can call a country that you have, never lived in, but you feel so comfortable and so
Right.
relaxed, home. That's saying, at least to me, that's saying, hey, I made the right choice for me. It's not going to be for everybody, but
That's right.
I do think removing ourselves, whether we stay in America or not, removing ourselves from that mentality of I gotta just grind and grind and grind, like our thumbnail said, burn and grind and burn. And
That's
that's what's
right.
gonna happen. You're gonna burn out. Your body,
Hmm.
your mind, your spirit is going to burn out, where you're going to start to feel stuck if you don't set those boundaries and start figuring out, what do I want in my second half of life? And this is primarily directed for women 45 and older.
Hmm.
When you're 20 and 30, I think the 20 and 30-year-olds nowadays are more aware of not burning out than we were, the Gen
Hmm.
X's, because that's what we were
Hmm.
told. Go to
Yeah.
school if you can afford to go to school, and get a good job. If you can
Hmm.
afford to go to college, and go to college, and then go get a good job, and you work that job for 30 years, when you could
Get
just
your
stay in a job
watch.
for right, when you could get your pension, which no
Right.
pensions now, they started getting rid of those, but get your pension, have a family, and right, you said get your watch, yeah.
Your
and
retirement watch. Yeah,
get your
yeah.
retirement watch and leave with your good pension.
That's
And
right.
unfortunately, it didn't work out that way for a lot of us. So,
Yeah, I know. And it's something that we have to just break out of that vicious cycle and that mentality. And I know these topics that we're talking about today, even on the live stream, is just a we're just touching on what we'll be going through in the workshop or the experience. Um, so we'll be, I know you don't want to say workshop, so we'll say experience or something.
experience.
But
That's
but we
good. I
will go dive deep into it and we are expecting transformations
Right.
in that experience because we know how to get to the bottom of these types of things and the why for you and with you, so that because we've been there ourselves. I
Right.
mean, if you're watching the replay, I would definitely uh, have you ask yourself, what's one area of your life that you're tired of hustling in?
Hmm.
And when you think of that, like when you think of that, if you stopped hustling, what does that freedom look like for you? What does that
Yeah.
whole vision look like for you? And start thinking along those lines, because that is where you're going to be set free, at least in your mind. Because once your
Right.
mind is set free, your body's going to follow.
Right.
And I
Right.
know, Angela, you're going to be set free in a little while, right? In a few
Yeah.
months.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I had to push it back a couple months only because I found some things out about, you know, 401k in another country. So I'm like, whoa, let me figure all that out. So when I get out there, I'm not like, oh, I didn't know that. So, but yes, I mean, I'm already working. I already got my NIF, my NEEF. I'm
Hmm.
working this week on getting my bank account set up. And I'll be out there in October to do a second scouting trip.
And where are
Um,
you going?
well, I'm gonna start in Lisbon, even though I've already scouted that. That's not where I'm gonna end up, but I'm gonna also go to up to Porto,
Hmm.
and scout out there and meet some of the ladies that are up there. But yeah,
Wow.
so Portugal is where I will end up, and
I love
eventually
it.
hubby will join me.
I
But
can't believe
this
I'm
is
gonna miss you because
I
we're
know.
going on the 11th
I
and we're
know.
driving up. So and
Oh,
then we
okay.
come back by the time you like we'll just be coming back.
Yeah, and then you leave to
And then I go to Peru after that.
Peru.
Yeah.
You're going to Peru.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, but
Mm-hmm.
when I'm finally up there in September, October, then of
We'll have plenty
2026,
of time.
we'll have plenty. Yeah, right. 'Cause I hop on a
Yeah.
plane. I don't know
Yeah,
if I'll be
that's true.
driving. I mean, that's pretty bold, but hop on a plane. What is it, an hour?
It's
Probably an
only
hour
six
plane.
hours. It's only 6 hours. I
I'm
drove
not
four
driving.
hours to my daughter's college to
Yeah,
drop her off at
I'm
school.
not driving 6 hours. I will hop on a plane. I'm not even gonna lie, I'll hop on a plane. Hey, Temple. Now, so the Temple is the one who is also, um, a very good example of getting out of the hustle culture.
Mm.
So Temple is now at first she was pushing back her time to move to Portugal, but we talked and she says, I'm gonna go up there and it's gonna work out. So
Hmm.
and she's gonna do her remote work up there. But she's up there. She left, packed up her little dog, and her and Rocco are up in Lisbon right now. So
Nice.
I'll be when I go out there, I'll be visiting her and hanging out
Wow.
with her. So, but again, it's about those boundaries. She had to set her boundary and say, "This is what I want, and this is what I don't want, and what I do want is what I'm going to go for." And she did.
Hmm. Hmm.
She within a couple of months, she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm just going to jump out there in faith and do it." So congratulations, Temple. I hope you're having an amazing time in Lisbon. I will see you soon. So I want to talk about the emotional cost of no boundaries in this hustle culture. So now we're going to talk about not just about being busy. It's about what living without boundaries does to us. When we don't set boundaries, the hustle doesn't just steal our time; it steals our peace, our mind. It drains our joy. And it makes us even question if we're ever doing enough or if we're ever enough, as women,
Mhm.
especially as we get older, because we have so many things coming at us, and so many stereotypes coming at us as we get older, that we feel that we need to hustle. Most of us, not all of us, feel we need to hustle harder to prove our worth. And we've got to get out of that. We've got to get out of hustling is not hustling should not define our worth
It's
in
not
any
failure.
culture. It's not failure. It's not.
Mhm. Yeah.
I like when I heard a lot of women talk about this, not soft landing, the soft life. And I'm like,
Yes.
yeah. That's what I want. I
Isn't that
want the
funny?
soft life.
Yeah. I remember one of the students said to me, "Oh, Miss Davenport, you're giving such soft life these days." I'm like, "Okay, thanks." Like I had to look it up. What's soft life? I asked my daughter and she had to explain it to me. I was like, "Yes."
Exactly. Exactly. And we deserve it. I mean, we do
Yeah.
deserve it. I mean, when you have worked as hard as we have, and again, I can't speak about the other generations. I can only talk about us Gen X's when we have worked as hard as we've had to work. And now we're in that sandwich generation where we still have our parents who are alive and we're probably taking care of our parents. And then we have our children, and especially in this, excuse me, in this economic downturn, we have our
Mhm.
children who might still be living with us and needing our help. So again, we have to set those boundaries on how much we're going to take on,
Yeah.
it being in that sandwich generation.
How
And
can Let me ask you, you talk a lot about boundaries and how do you think boundaries can help us or protect us from falling back into the hustle culture, like once we set them up?
I think you need to know your why.
Mm,
Why did you set those boundaries to begin with?
hmm.
Why are you stepping away from that mentality?
Right.
Why have you chosen to move somewhere else in order to live that soft life?
Hmm.
And you can't, and once you set those boundaries, you do need to stick to them. I mean, not to the point where they're not flexible. You don't want them to be inflexible. You want to have some wiggle room, but you don't want them to be so flexible that people can, you know, decide, okay, well, she might give in to, you can have a
Right.
discussion. You can say,
Hmm.
okay, well, let's talk about it. But
Yeah.
I just think that we have to stand on our whys and we have to really have that deep in our spirit what our why is and why we are setting these boundaries.
Right. Yeah, because I'm sure a lot of people think, well, sure I can say I have a boundary, but then how does it stick? Like what's to prevent me from going back? But
Well,
like you said,
nothing will prevent you from going back. I mean, it's just like with anything. You have to practice that. It's a
yes.
muscle,
Yes.
it's like a muscle. You have to practice. And
Hmm.
it's not gonna you're not gonna necessarily set a boundary. And Temple can chime in because she is the a therapist. So I want Temple to chime in and let me know if I'm saying something wrong. Temple, please let me know. But if you set that boundary, then it's like a muscle. You got to keep practicing. You got to keep knowing, this is my boundary. And again, why did I set this boundary to begin with?
Hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like going to the gym. Just because you go once doesn't mean you're gonna be motivated to go every time, but you gotta say,
I
"Okay,
know that's right.
I gotta do this." And what's your
Yeah.
why for going to the gym? I wanna be healthy or I wanna be stronger, blah, 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 blah. So,
Yeah. And just think of all the ways that once you implement those boundaries, how does your life change? Does it
right,
change physically, your body, your mental
right.
state, your relationship with others? how does it all change? How could it change? You know,
How could
because
it change?
what we want the best for ourselves and for other
Mhm.
people. So there's so many ways that it could change if you make those decisions and those boundaries.
Yeah, yeah. Temple says, absolutely, we must be able to stand firm in our word before the change can occur. Just like any other muscle, you do it over and over again to get the result you want.
Yes.
There you go. You heard it from a therapist, y'all.
See, you
And
on
we also,
point.
yeah. And we also have to realize that rest, we shouldn't feel guilty about resting. And I think a lot of us do feel guilty. The one saying I cannot stand, I'll rest when I'm dead. Okay, well, you know what?
Mm,
That's going to happen sooner or later if y'all aren't, if you keep up with this, if you keep up with this hustle mentality that I got
right,
to work and work and work,
right.
because that's what we have been trained to do, to believe
Hmm.
rest is wrong, you
Right.
know, to burnout feels like failure because the hustle culture has convinced us that slowing down means we're falling behind, and I'm guilty of it even now, even though I'm building my own business, and I'm guilty of it even now, of
Hmm.
saying, okay, if I don't do one more thing, then I haven't completed my task for the day. And and I've had to really, I'm working on it, I'm still working on it, to tell
Right,
myself,
right.
no girl, you've done 4 out of the 6 things on your to-do list for today. You're good.
Yeah,
You're
I
good.
understand that. I have to do that myself too because I find myself working way more than 12 hours that I did with that company.
Yeah.
But at least and my thinking is that, well, at least I'm working for myself now. So
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
excuse I give myself.
Yeah.
But it makes it feel different, and it does feel
Yeah.
different.
It does.
But
It
I
does.
should still take more time for
Yeah, you
myself.
still have
I
to have
should
more, you still have to have fun.
balance. Yeah.
Yeah. Temple says, when we break the boundaries we set for ourselves, we send a clear message to the receiver that we are wishy washy and can be broken down if necessary.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you,
Mhm.
Temple, for that clarification. Yeah, exactly. That
Mhm.
makes sense.
And that's for a job and a relationship.
Eh,
Anybody, even
Right.
family members.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. You know, when we're overworked mentally, physically, emotionally, um, and then when we snap at the people we love, it's
Mhm.
because the hustle has left us depleted and we don't have nothing left to give. How are we going to pour from an empty cup?
Right.
And we have to
That's
learn to
right.
pour back into ourselves. So if we're constantly on the go, constantly doing something, constantly feel like we've got to complete our 20 items on our to-do list, then we have nothing left to give to our loved ones. So,
That's powerful. Yeah, that's very true. And
yeah,
we have to learn to start saying no and not feel guilty about it.
right.
I have family members who say yes to everybody under the sun, and it affects them mentally and emotionally, and they're just angry all the time. And then they say to me, like, well, don't ask Miriam because she's just going to say no. Hey, I
Yeah.
am. I'm going to say no. I had to get to that because I was a yes person too. And after
Yeah,
a while, I was like, why am I saying yes all the time when I don't want to? I'm going to say
because
no. And I started doing that.
We're
Yeah,
conditioned to say
conditioning.
yes. We're
Mm-hmm.
conditioned to say yes to everything, and when we say no, there is guilt. There
Right.
is, "Oh, I'm letting my family down. I'm not being loyal," you know?
Mm-hmm.
You're not being loyal to the family if you're saying no, and
Right.
that's not true. We have to come to a time in our lives where yes is, what am I looking for? Yes is, not the majority, it's the minority. You know?
Mm. Right.
No is our go-to word.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's what we have to make, our main staple in our vocabulary, and I'm not
Unapologetically.
unapologetically.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Like,
exactly.
no, and walk
Right,
away.
and walk right, exactly, exactly. So
Oh my goodness.
so I want to talk about how boundaries break the hustle cycle.
Mm,
So, boundaries are resistance and the rebellion, and boundaries are how we unplug from that hustle culture grip. Every no you set creates space for a yes, for softness, for joy, and for freedom. So, what that looks like in practice, as easy as, I won't join that late night Zoom call, you know. And
mm-hmm.
even if you would have said today, Miriam, I'm tired, I don't want to do this live, I would have said, okay, you know, because you have the right and you should feel good about saying, you know what, I'm tired. I just flew in. I'm tired. And I would have said, okay, we will reschedule. Not a
Mm-hmm.
problem. And
Mm-hmm.
also, the people that can't respect that, maybe those aren't the people you need in your life. And I'm not saying you have to cut
Right.
off everybody, but you need to know who are the people who are going to respect when you say no, or when you say
Mm-hmm.
I can't, or you say, you know what, I'm gonna take a rain check. If they
Right.
can't respect that and give you that space that you need, then maybe those are the people that you might slowly start saying, okay, I'm not going to, involve myself with you as much as I'd have in the past.
That's
So,
right. You said that so nicely. I would have said just moonwalk. Just moonwalk away.
so anything you want to add? I've been doing most of the talking. Anything you want to add
Well,
to?
just to and even just what Temple also said, that commenting that we have to just stick with we have to stick with our boundary, and
Yeah,
whatever that is and whatever that looks like for us, and no matter who it is, because and I think that's the what gets a lot of people, because they have different rules for different people, whether it's family members, whether it's work. Oh, but it's work, they're paying me, I have to do it. No, you don't. No,
no,
you
you
don't.
don't.
I'm here to tell you that you do not.
Mm-mm.
And there's always something else there, out there for you. But they will have you believe, and I say they will have you believe that you need to just do your utmost and die for whatever it is, whatever that job is, and whatever that
Right.
relationship is. But that's not the case. There's so much more for
Yeah.
you to have in this world. I mean, when you think of all the billions of people and the places that there are in this entire world, when I started doing YouTube videos, I got so many people were commenting, and I'm going to call them they, were commenting because I was talking about the American dream. And
Mhm.
all of a sudden they showed up and they're like, oh no, you have to stay in America, and this is the American way, and you have to, this is the set of rules that you have to follow. And I was like, why?
Wow.
Why do you have to do
Why?
that? Who said that? Who said that because were born in America, you have to stay in America?
Right.
That's not a rule, and that's not something that I want to follow. If it
Right.
is, and we have options out there. We
Right.
have other people out there that we can, communicate with. My son, he's 33 now. And when I tell you, most of his friends, he met them online. There's a whole world of people out there. And when he moved to Thailand recently, now he's friends with, like, he can see them in person
Yeah.
because he made those connections online. We don't have to stay stuck like we're in a box and
Yeah.
stay in that area to talk to people, to communicate and converse and stuff. People meet other people in other countries and become married and have kids, and just open yourself to the possibilities, at least to
Right.
think about, what's that dream that I used to think of as a child, that
Right.
people said, oh no, that can never happen, or you can't do that. What
Right.
is it? Bring that back, because when we start playing with our minds, like we were as a child, that's
Mhm.
how we open our imaginations up, and that's how we manifest things. It
Yeah.
really is.
Right. Right. One thing I like that well, you and I are so much alike because our birthdays are the exact same day, but I'm the same way. I don't believe that I have to be stuck in a certain place because I was born here or because my family is here or anything like that. There is a whole wide world out there that as women, um, and men, but we're talking to the women here. As
Mm-hmm.
women, we should feel comfortable enough to go out there and explore, even if you decide, no, that's not my cup of tea. I just want to come here for vacation. That's amazing. Do it, but don't
Right.
feel like you have to be stuck because society says this is what you're supposed to be doing, A, B, C, and D, and E
Mm-hmm.
doesn't fit into this program. No, you make E fit. If that's what you want, if you want to travel 6 months out of the year and you can do it, then do it.
Yeah.
And, don't feel guilty about it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's breaking up with that societal expectations that you should be only doing, you got to fit in this box. You
Right.
can't jump into that other box. This is the box you're in. This is the box you need to stay in. And no, as we get older and as women of a certain age, we start to understand that we want to do more. We want to experience more. We want to become the woman that we had to put on a shelf for a while to raise a family, to go to work and to be
Mm-hmm.
productive in this society. We now want to be able to say, okay, I want to dust that lady off up there. I want to dust her off.
It's time.
It's
Mm-hmm.
time. It's time for her to come on off the shelf and to experience new experiences
Right.
and do new
Right.
things, learn
Right.
new cultures, learn new languages,
Mm-hmm.
all that, and not feel guilty about it. So,
I tell you, my sister is, she came back with me this time. And so
oh,
she's
good.
here for 2 months because she's going to take, I want her to get acclimated with everything. And I tell you, God works so mysteriously, but right on time because she just retired like the week before we left to come here.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so I wanted her to get acclimated for a couple of months while she's here because she's going to be left here with my dog. So
Right.
she's going to be taking care of the dog. And I said, look, you got to learn the language. You got to learn your surroundings. You got a lot to do in
Right,
2 months.
right.
So I've been showing her around every day and we go to different places. And so yesterday was her first real, like I said, okay, now you go up to the counter and you talk to them and tell them what it is that you want. And she said, but I don't know how to say that. It's okay. Just say what you know. Like
Mhm.
try to rephrase it in ways that in words that you know
She
so that
better
you can
download that
communicate.
Google app.
Yeah, well, she has that. She has
Good,
that, but she used
okay.
to think, oh, well, everything's so fast, like I don't have time to do all that. But it reminds me of people how we are, like they don't like change and they're scared to put themselves out there. And
Yeah,
she
yeah.
had that mentality. She felt anxiety over
Mm,
being like talking and using her mouth like she would in the States. It's like it's no
yeah.
different. They're people also, and if anything, they're more patient here
I was
than
gonna
they
say they're
ever
more
would be in the
patient.
US. Oh
Right, I
my
was gonna say they're
God.
more patient. They are more
Yeah.
patient. I know when I go to, Lisbon, I'll be staying with Temple for a couple days, and then I'm gonna take the train to Porto. Now, this will be my first international trip solo. So,
Mm,
then I'm at to get on the train, but I actually am looking forward to it,
yeah.
to doing this by myself because I know I can, but yes, there's that fear of like,
Hmm.
okay, what if I get on the wrong train? What if I get lost? Okay, Angela, stop. You got a lot of what ifs in your head
Yeah.
and you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I'm excited. So I understand your sister's anxiety. I understand
Hmm.
how she's feeling because I will be there, soon enough and getting on that
I've
train.
gotten I've gotten on the wrong subway in New York and I've gone like way out of the way. And what did I have to do? I took the other one to come back. So
Come
you
back.
can do the
Yeah,
same thing.
you can do the same thing. But you made a very valid point. The people are so much more patient. And if they see that you're
Hmm.
trying
Yes.
to
That's all
communicate
they
with
want.
them, that's all they want. They don't want you
Hmm.
coming in with that American attitude. So,
That's right.
but we
That's
kind of
right.
got off topic. But this is an
It still
amazing
relates.
discussion. It still relates. You're right, lady. You're right. So, but we have to remember boundaries don't just protect our time,
Mm-hmm.
they reprogram our worth. And we have,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we have to put in perspective, that how much we do does not determine our worth.
Right.
Let me say that again. How much we do does not determine our worth.
Yeah.
We are not lazy human beings, especially Black women. We are not
Mm-hmm.
lazy. By no means are we lazy people,
Mm-hmm.
but we want to have a rest. We want to
Yeah.
have rest without the guilt, without someone saying, what the must be the must be nice. Yes, you can do it too.
Right.
And that's, and like you going back to what you were saying about, our experience, our
Mm-hmm.
our workshop, our experience, our journey.
Right.
Um, that's going to be a part of it, not feeling guilty about just having a softer, more joyful, more spiritual life, and whatever your
Yeah.
spirituality is, just
And people
enjoy.
think that they can have that by taking vacations, and you certainly
Oh,
can. But I
yeah.
don't want to wait until it's vacation time. I don't want to have a once a year or even a twice a year for 4 or 5 days experience. I
Right,
want that to be my life all
right,
the time,
right,
So
right,
that's why I chose to take the leap and say, you know what? There's something different and there's
right,
something more out there. I
right,
have to make my exit. And that's what I
right.
encourage so many people to do, to there's you can create that life for yourself, but it
Mhm,
takes a decision, and a lot of people don't think that they have either the permission to make
mhm.
that choice, or
Right.
they think, there's something that, or someone that's holding them down, that
Yeah,
where they can't do that. And
right.
I'm telling you that it doesn't have to be that way. And one
Yeah.
thing, people are notorious, especially women, saying, oh, the kids are going to be, they're in school, or they're this, and kids are going to be fine. They
They're
know
gonna
how
be
to make
fine.
friends.
They're more
They know how
resilient
to
than we
acclimate.
are.
They're much more resilient than we are. So they will be fine. Yes.
Yeah. So what I want folks, who's ever in the chat, if just let's drop one thing in the chat you can say no to this week, and one thing you'll say yes to instead.
Mm.
So if there's anybody in the chat that wants to do that, please do. I'm curious. So,
And what would you say no and yes to this
oh
week?
my, this week, no to cooking dinner every night.
Okay.
Even and a reason, well, the reason I do is because I don't want to spend the money. I'm not. I just,
Mm.
California is too damn expensive, so that's
Mm-hmm.
the reason why I do it. Even though dinner might be eggs and toast,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's the only reason I do it. If it was much cheaper, I'd probably we'd be eating out more, but it's just too
Yeah.
damn expensive. And I'm yes to me going for more walks and not being
Mm.
stuck behind my computer, you
Okay.
know? Yeah,
Okay.
going for more walks. And because again, we also have to look at our health at this age. We have to really
Mm-hmm.
be more on top of our health,
Yes.
because if we're gonna take this leap and start saying no to the hustle, then we also have to say yes to, getting ourselves into, healthy routines,
Mm-hmm.
exercising, eating better, because you don't want to, do all this and then you're so sick that you can't enjoy it.
Right.
You don't
Right.
want to make all these changes and say, yeah, I think I'm gonna move to another country, or no, I'm gonna retire early, or whatever your yes is, and then not be able
Mm-hmm.
to do it because you're not in your best physical health. So, what
No.
about you, Miss Miriam?
I would say no. What would I say no? Because now I'm here, so
So I'm saying yes to everything now.
I pretty much am. The only thing is that I would say no to not exercising and saying yes to exercising every day. So it's the same topic, but The no and the yes is it
Got you,
applies.
got you.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, good for you. So, do you wanna mention any more about the workshop, hun?
Just that it just expect transformation to
Mhm,
happen. We'll have people also, we're not going to be the only ones that are speaking,
right.
and we're going to have guest speakers come in to talk about topics that are meaningful. And because we know best what each other are going through, what our friends going through at this age, and that's what we'll be discussing. And I know that we put a poll out there. I guess maybe you'll attach it to the in the comments section if you can. Like, we put a
Yeah,
poll out there so that as we're creating the workshop or the experience, you can give us feedback of what it is that you would like to see or hear in it, so you can answer those questions for us. That would be so helpful. And it's going to be great. It's really life changing.
I'm trying to log in so I can,
Okay.
get the
Yeah.
link.
Because I go on to some of our my other co-creators channels, and I mean thousands of women who are in these situations and they just don't know how to get out of it. And for us to somehow be able to tap into them and and lift them up and support them in what they're feeling and show them another way to do it is so important to us, and that's why we're doing this. And if you know somebody who is interested or might be interested, send them the poll or tell them about us, and they can send us a message and ask us how do they join up. I think there's a
And I
button
also linked
to
in
join up.
the wait list. So there is a wait
Okay.
list,
Yeah.
just so we can get an idea of, who's interested and so forth, and you'll get more information as it gets closer to the actual workshop. It will be a 2-day, 4-hour a day workshop. We were trying to decide the length of time for the workshops, but we came up with 2 days, 4 hours a day, not to so you're not burnt out. And yet, like Miriam said, there will be other guest speakers. It won't just be us droning on. Um, and yeah, we hope that that you decide to come and learn from other amazing women, and to so you can move forward as well in whatever your dream is and whatever, direction you wanna go.
Right. And these are other women who have also made the journey. They've
Yeah,
experienced it too, so they know what they're
and it's
talking about.
yeah,
Hmm.
and it's not just about, moving to another country. That's not what it's
Right.
about. That just happens to be our journey, but
Hmm.
that's not what it's about. If that's your journey, if that's your desire, then wonderful. If it's not, if it's just that you're ready to, um, become the woman that you were meant to become, or the woman that you've put on that shelf, Miriam, we lost you. Then that's what we want you to aspire to, you know, get to. And yeah, Miriam, we lost your love, but we
Uh-oh.
are I can hear you, but we just
Oh,
can't
you
see
can't
you.
hear me. Okay.
I can hear you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But we
Just
just can't.
saying
We
goodbye.
lost your lovely face. But yeah, I think that's just about it. And again, please, give us your feedback on the poll. You can sign up for the wait list, and you will give you periodic updates on what's going on and when it's going to be and all that good stuff.
That's right. We are
Yeah,
here
Templa's
for you. You
laughing.
can send us some private messages or, somehow get in touch with us through email, etc.
Mm,
Where, we'll answer your questions.
yeah, we'll answer your questions. And please make sure, check out Miriam's YouTube channel. Miriam, because I can never get it right. What's your
I have.
what's your handle? I can never get it right.
So there's Sis We Outta Here, and
Mhm.
my other channel is Exit with Fire, which is financial independence, retire early, Exit with Fire.
Okay, okay. So check out her podcast and check out mine at Unapologetically 50 Plus. I'm working on trying to get my podcast loaded to other platforms. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
I'm working on that. I don't know when it's going to happen, but sooner than later, I'm hoping. So with me trying to do all these other things, but anyway, you guys, thank you
One
so
thing
much
at
for
a time.
joining us. Anything else you want to end with before we get on out of here so you can go get some rest, my love?
My heart and mind is clear. I'm complete.
Okay. All right. And thank you, Temple, for all your I see all your comments in the chat. So thank you, Temple. I'll be seeing you soon, love. I'm sure I'll talk to you before I see you, but thank you guys again for joining. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Check out Miriam's YouTube channels and support there as well. All right, you guys, thank you so much
Thanks,
for joining
Angela.
us. Bye.
Bye.